U.S. President Donald Trump is allowing Nvidia to sell advanced chips to China, marking a shift in U.S. tech policy. High-end H200 chips are getting the green light, but China is set to limit access. Here to talk about that is founder and CIO of Spear Invest, Ivana Delevska. Ivana, thanks as always for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Roger.
Okay, many angles to this. First up, Nvidia. Is this a win for Nvidia?
Well, Roger, just for background, Nvidia was expected to sell approximately $17 billion to China this year. That got brought down to zero. So in the current analyst estimates, there is nothing really included for China. So versus that, it's a pretty significant incremental positive. Now, it does come with a lot of questions that we don't know the answer to. And those are whether China will be encouraging the sales of these chips or discouraging them. And that's really what the market is a little uncertain about, in addition to the 25% tariff. So it sounds like it may be a little bit too late for Nvidia to penetrate this market, but still a lot of details to come.
I know we're already seeing China is apparently considering limiting access to it. You'd have to get a permit and explain why you need it. How detrimental would that be?
Well, NVIDIA chips really are very strong for general purpose computing. So anytime you need NVIDIA's CUDA software, there is really no better substitute for it. So from that perspective, I think it would be in the Chinese best interest to allow the sale of these chips. However, every time you have a situation where it's not really a free and open market, it's not as easy for the company to penetrate it. So I think it's not necessarily detrimental. It's just not going to be a very big positive surprise for the stock. I think if they were able to really penetrate the market in a more free market type way, China could be a really big opportunity for NVIDIA. But thus far, with this sort of frictions and tariffs, I don't know that we will be able to see a meaningful impact in the numbers. And this is why you see the stock not really responding all that positively to the news.
Now, there are critics of Trump that are concerned that this could help China win the AI war if they get these chips in it, because they're considered they're ahead when it comes to AI. Is that the case, do you feel, or is China still a long way off? They're still a generation behind when it comes to chips. Is that holding them back?
Well, Roger, I think in our view, the way to win the war is with continued innovation. So it's really all about staying ahead on the innovation front rather than restricting sales. So I don't necessarily think that allowing the sales to China will be able to accelerate China winning the war, because if they're not provided, then China would develop them internally. So at this point in time, really, I think NVIDIA being the dominant platform would be a lot more beneficial to the U.S. versus China having their own chips developed internally. And just to provide some background here, at this point in time, many companies know how to make these chips. So it's not really a secret. Mm-hmm. It's all about how quickly they can advance them, how quickly they can provide features that are beneficial to different use cases. So we're really beyond the stage where NVIDIA was the only game in town. You see competitive chips from TPUs from Google or the AWS chips, same with Chinese competitors. There are many alternatives to GPUs today. However, NVIDIA still wins in that general purpose computing. So if you are making these chips available broadly, the more likely you're able to establish dominance. If other companies or Chinese competitors develop this in-house, then they would obviously have that advantage.
And does this say anything about the bigger picture for AI and concerns about a bubble in the tech sector? Or is this just the next move in this situation?
Well, I actually think that all the developments that we've seen over the past year have been very positive for the AI cycle. And I don't really see a bubble anywhere you look at in the value chain. If you look at NVIDIA valuation specifically, it's trading actually at the low end of its valuation range. And some of it is because of all of these concerns that we highlighted earlier. But if you look at the sector more broadly, you're seeing a lot more innovation. You're seeing companies come to market. You're seeing a lot of benefits across the value chain. So this is where we're finding the most investment opportunities. So companies companies in the networking space, whether it's on the electrical component side, optics, power generation. This is where the bottlenecks are today, and that's where most of the opportunities are. So we disclose all of our holdings on our website, and some of these companies, you'll find them there. And
now there were some concerns that if they didn't allow the chips to go in, that China would catch up, build their own internal system. Is China catching up when it comes to chips? Will they be able to catch up?
Yeah, absolutely. So they're definitely catching up when it comes to chips. They're catching up on the hardware side. They're doing very well on the networking side. So that's another area where we've seen, even if the chips themselves are not performing as well, once they're connected as a system, they're actually having pretty comparable performance. I think where Nvidia is really differentiated is in providing these frameworks that sit on top of the GPU. So when you hear Jensen say, hey, even if we were to give away the chips, even if competitors were to give away the chips for free, our product will still be better. That's where that comes from. It's these frameworks that are free and come along with Nvidia's chips. So I think Chinese competitors will catch up on the hardware, like bare metal performance side, but they're still going to be missing some of these frameworks, which is really what allows competitors or new entrants to develop AI products quickly.
Okay, we're going to have to leave it there, but Ivana, thanks as always for joining us.